Stepping up our game, rising from the underground, playing our sound to the overground crowd, making it for the guy that never turn his sound down. We blast our tunes so loud, come around in the bus. Drink what you have, give me love, give me that drop. Get down low, baby, make your hands clap. Show me some love tonight, show me some love. Drink what you have, give me love, give me that drop. Get down low, baby, make your hands clap. Stepping up our game, rising. Stepping up our game, rising.
And welcome to another edition of Draft Talk. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Tom Barnett, and we are happy to have Rob Maaddi joining us as well to talk a little football, talk a little draft. Appreciate you coming on to talk some football with us.
Absolutely, fellas. What's going on? How are you?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Nice to have you on.
All right, so I want to start off and talk about something that a lot of people have been talking about on Twitter and the internet, and so the whole Eagles concept. With All About the Birds, it's Eagles. So I want to bring up the Eagles trading back and trading from 6 to 12. I want to get your thoughts on that move and what you think it really means for that.
I really like to trade guys because I think this is a team that, as bad as they are, they need to have as many good players and accumulate as much draft capital as possible. So I don't think they're a superstar at number 6 away from being a good football team. I think you need to bring in several good players. They have a lot of holes and a lot of flaws. So I had no problem with them trading down from 6 to 12. I think they still might trade down even more. They might trade down from 12 to 14, 16, 18, maybe as far as 20. I'm not sure yet, but I wouldn't rule that out. I think that's more likely than them moving back up into the draft. So I like the idea of accumulating more draft capital, but I think my concerns and every Eagles fan out there has the same issue and the same concern is that no matter how many draft picks you have, you need to execute on them. And the track record for this team, the recent track record for this organization with Howie Roseman in the last 7 years has not been very good.
No, and that's the thing that I look at it, and a lot of people say, oh, well, you have Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts possibly there. And the one thing I look at is look at the Detroit Lions with Calvin Johnson, superstar. What did it really get them? You can have a superstar in your team. They had Barry Sanders too. You can have these superstars, but it doesn't always, give you success in the long run. What you said, you get the talent. They need young talent. And fans have always complained and cried, we need to get younger, get rid of these veterans. You have too many veterans, older, aging veterans. They get hurt. But then they make this trade to be able to get more assets, possibly 3 first-round picks next year. And then you still have complaining, well, you could have had this guy. So to me, the fan base is just going to cry about whatever. You kind of just go about the Eagles are building the team, and what they're doing is building for the future, getting a bunch of young talent because they have to start hitting on these picks.
Yeah, and I think from the perspective of fans, they want that sexy pick. They want that playmaker. They want a wide receiver. They want or in Kyle Pitts, the unicorn. He's a tight end who's a wide receiver. He could do all of that stuff. But this team historically has not valued a wide receiver, a pass catcher in the first round. And then you can argue, and you know what? I got to go back and dig into this and look at Super Bowl champions maybe over the last decade who have actually invested in high draft picks and first round picks in wide receivers. I don't know right now until I go back and dig in and do the research, but I don't think those teams really do. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers being an exception. They had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, signed Antonio Brown, but the difference for them was signing Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver to build a Super Bowl champion. Case in point, Eagles in 2017. They went out and acquired a guy in Alshon Jeffrey who wasn't a first-round pick. So from their perspective, they build with whether it's a quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, and that's where they put their value on. So they didn't think spending a number 6 pick overall on a pass catcher was the right thing to do, and I agree with them.
Speaking of that pick, so if the Eagles stay there at number 12, where do you see them going?
So nobody wants to hear this, but I really think they might go offensive line or defensive line. I think if Rashawn Slater is there at 12, here's a guy who's versatile, can play a lot of different positions on the offensive line. They're getting obviously older up front with Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks are all older guys coming off injuries, except in Jason's case. But this is an Andre Dillard. We don't know what he comes back and looks like. Jordan Mailata has still got to improve, still got to continue to grow and develop. So I think they can really go that direction, offensive line. I hope they don't go defensive end, edge rusher, or even a guy in the middle, defensive tackle, because I don't know at 12 that there's a player who fits that category. They may trade further back to get a defensive end in the later part of the teens. That's something I could see them doing, but that's really, I talk a lot about cornerbacks because I'm a guy who puts value in cornerbacks. I really like to see the defense have another opposite Darius Slay who can be a shutdown corner, but one, I don't know if J.C. Horn's going to be there. I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have him going before 12, and I just don't think the Eagles put that value on cornerback at 12 too. So if you had to ask me right now as we speak a couple weeks out from the draft, I think they go one of the lines leaning toward offensive line.
So the thing is, you said about the cornerback, and corners, if you look at the Pro Bowl the last couple of seasons, a lot of the Pro Bowl cornerbacks have been drafted in the first round and, pretty high in the first round too. If you look at the receivers that are in the Pro Bowl, a lot of them are, second, some are third, fourth round. They're not high draft picks. So looking at the last, 5 to 7 years of the draft and looking at the top end and seeing the receivers that are drafted at the top end and seeing the corners drafted in the top end, more corners in the top end are succeeding a lot more than the receivers. To me, that's a little concerning if you really want these top receivers, because, possibly better or not, they may not end the way you want it to end.
Yeah, and I'm with you as far as the wide receivers. Like you said, you look at a lot of these guys who you can develop into if you get in the right system with the quarterback who can get you the ball. Opens up the offense. And sometimes you look at some of these guys who put up prolific numbers at wide receiver, they're on losing teams because their team is throwing a lot and they're playing catch up. And now you're accumulating a lot of garbage yards and a lot of garbage receptions at the end of football games. And what good does that do as far as winning for the team to win football games? It doesn't really matter. You guys are putting up individual stats. So I think you can develop. And here's another reason why I don't think the Eagles are going to go with a wide receiver or a pass catcher early, because you got a new offensive system. You invested heavily in Jalen Reagor in the first round, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round. Nick Sirianni comes in as a head coach, and although he was an offensive coordinator most recently, he played wide receiver. There's a lot of wide receivers that he's worked with who've had success, and the Eagles look at him as a guy who can help develop their own wide receivers and maximize the potential of guys like Reagor, maybe Arcega-Whiteside, Quez Watkins, John Hightower, Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward. I think he is what he is, but I think they're excited to see what Sirianni can do with those guys, and that's another reason why I don't think they go wide receiver at number 12.
You bring that point up, and it's great because I brought it up on our Wednesday show about Nick Sirianni and the receivers because they watching the film of him breaking down the film and going over that, and talking about a receiver for the Eagles. if you look at the Indianapolis Colts, the past couple of years with him being offensive coordinator and helping with the receivers and doing that stuff, and guys like Chester Rogers and Zach Pascal, you had an older T.Y. Hilton, but Paris Campbell was drafted high and he got hurt. You have Michael Pittman. You have all these guys that aren't household names, but they're being able to be productive. And what does that show you with like you just said, all these young guys the Eagles have? To me, if a certain guy falls into the second round, possibly, but if they went going someone in the third round, my recent mock draft, I have them going with the guy from North Carolina in the third round. I have them going edge rusher second, corner in the first. I feel the defense aspect is a lot, bigger priority than the offensive side of the ball, in my opinion.
I mean, I'd love to see the defense prioritized. Guys, if Micah Parsons fell to 12, and I don't know that he will, I'd love to see them go with a linebacker. Now, I know the signing of Kyle Wilson this week gives them another guy that they can start in there with Alex Singleton, and they really weren't going to put that value on a linebacker. They just historically haven't taken a linebacker. But I would have loved to see a guy in there who's just, to me, an absolute playmaker, a game wrecker in Micah Parsons. But if they go cornerback, I will be mildly surprised, not shocked or anything like that, but I certainly would welcome it. I think that's a position where if you can bring in a guy that you could pencil in as a perennial Pro Bowl player and a shutdown corner for the better part of a decade, that's a smart thing to do.
Do you see him going to be going with the corner day 2 or day 3 instead then?
If they don't go day 1, yeah, I think they got to prioritize a cornerback, especially in this draft. I think that's certainly an area where you got to look at, because you look at you look at a versatile defensive back perhaps too, because you need help at safety too as well. So, and they really like versatile guys who could do a lot of different things, guys who could be a nickel, guys who could be an outside corner, guys who could just play all over back there. So maybe you're looking at looking at direction. I think they do bring in a wide receiver whether it's day 2 or at least day 3. I think they do look in that direction, but they need to improve both sides. This is a team and an organization that values the lines, dominating on the line of scrimmage. And I think they got to really look deep into trying to improve, add depth, and maybe bring in a guy who could be somebody that you can count on for several years at one of those positions, offensive or defensive line.
So we have a question here. It says, who's a guy on the roster right now who's been underdeveloped that could break out? So someone that
Jalen Reagor.
That's a good one.
I mean, Jalen Reagor is a guy who they valued high enough to draft ahead of Justin Jefferson, and obviously last year he was hurt, so that played into it. But they didn't develop Jalen Reagor last year. There was a lot that you look at in his game and the route running and everything that we thought, hey, this guy was at this point people were like, wow, this is a bust. I'm not ready to say that. I think that there's potential there. I think Jalen Reagor, because we saw it a little bit in some spurts. We saw it in week 1. Remember week 1 against Washington where he blows past the secondary and Carson drops like a 55 yard over the shoulder catch. He looked like Jerry Rice. And I'm like, wow, they got their guy. And then we didn't see much of that. We saw it a little bit in spurts. So I think with a new system, a new coaching staff, Jalen could be ready to have a breakout year.
I think with an improved offensive line too, I mean, you have a little bit more time to throw the ball and actually let the routes develop a little bit too.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it that nobody wants to talk about, right? Nobody wanted to talk about how bad the offensive line was last year and how much of a factor that was in how poorly Carson Wentz played and how poorly the offense played. But when you don't have time to throw, you're going to look like he did. You're going to look as terrible as he did. You're going to throw picks. You're going to rush plays. You're going to hold it on and try to make plays. And your guys are, like you said, Tom, they're not going to have the time to get open. They're not going to have that. And obviously there were countless opportunities where Carson missed guys or where guys were open, he didn't throw their way. But it starts up front. You need a healthy offensive line blocking for your quarterback, giving him an opportunity to throw to guys, and guys getting an opportunity to actually get open.
And it showed you in the Super Bowl. Just look at the Chiefs and that offensive line. Look what happened. And a quarterback.
As great as Patrick Mahomes is, Johnny, right? I mean, this is a guy that we all think he's probably the best quarterback in the game right now. You take him, you take Aaron Rodgers, as old as Brady is, he's winning Super Bowls. But Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal, and he looked ordinary in the Super Bowl.
You're 100% correct. And, having a star quarterback is, big for teams. And, Carolina made a trade for Darnold. And, Joe Douglas is acquiring picks like crazy and assets like crazy over in New York. Now, for me, I feel like that kind of shakes up the first round because right now, Atlanta at number 4 is sitting there basically in prime spot to trade and to be able to get a lot for that for a team that wants to trade up. And if they don't trade up, do they possibly go Pitts? There's a lot that goes into that. How are you feeling on that with that Darnold trade and how it kind of lines up that, first section of the draft?
Well, the Darnold trade hurts the Eagles in that it takes Carolina out of the mix for a quarterback at number 8. So once they acquire Sam Darnold, now you're going to have a position player, non-quarterback, go at number 8, assuming Carolina stays there. So that's one more guy that's off the board, whether it's an O-lineman or something else, wide receiver. A lot of teams think that they might go in that direction. I really think Atlanta's going to end up trading for. I know they like Kyle Pitts, but I think they're going to trade because there's a possibility they could trade out of 4 and still get Kyle Pitts. Because at number 5, Cincinnati, a lot of people think they're going to go with the offensive lineman, Sewell. So if they're going to go off it, they could also go Jamar Chase and reunite him with Joey Burrow. So there's that possibility. But I really think Atlanta is leaning towards the smart thing to do for them is they're also a bad football team. If they don't want a quarterback because they think that Matt Ryan is going to give them 2-3 more years, well, then you trade out of that spot, you accumulate draft picks, and you probably could still end up with Kyle Pitts, whether it's at 6 to 8 or wherever it may be that they trade down. But I think they're going to be kind of like the wild card right now. Everybody's looking to see what's Atlanta going to do, and we know what 1, 2, 3 is going to look like. What's 4 going to look like, and who's going to be drafting in that spot?
Speaking of pick number 3, what have you been hearing about what San Francisco might do there? Are you leaning more Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields? You hearing anything on that pick or no?
Yeah, man. That one. Whew, yeah, Justin Fields looks like a strong possibility at number 3. I know Trey Lance is going to do another pro day coming up, possibly. I think it was like the 19th. Mac Jones. So I think Mac Jones is going to go to probably maybe Denver at 9. It's San Francisco. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do because they got their choice of those 3 quarterbacks, and it just depends on who they think is going to be the best to fit in their system and has the better future. I kind of think they're going to – if I had to guess right now, and I don't do mock drafts. I leave that to everybody else because everybody's doing 22 different versions of a mock draft. But if I was going to do one, I would pencil in Justin Fields at 3 for San Francisco. Now I'll probably be wrong, but who cares?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of mock drafts with my time, but when I started doing this draft show and stuff like that, I've done one. We've done a couple here, but I've done 1 Eagles one. I usually do 2, 3, 4, 5 Eagles ones. So it's kind of helped me kind of sit back, really look over things to be able to just put my thoughts in one. But, talking about the Eagles, a lot of people were upset last year when CeeDee Lamb went before, when he kept falling. If Kyle Pitts somehow falls, is there a chance that he could drop into Dallas's lap?
I don't think he could drop to Dallas, but what I was told is that Jerry Jones loves him. Just flat out loves him. And what's not to love, right, about Kyle Pitts? You got a guy who is just an absolute monster at tight end. He's a wide receiver who could play tight end. So I think that Dallas is a possibility to potentially trade up, not the 4 with Atlanta, but if Atlanta trades out of 4 and then quarterback goes there, and then you go quarterback at 4, offensive lineman at 5, maybe wide receiver at 6. I think Dallas could be in a mix to trade up to get Kyle Pitts, but I don't anticipate him falling to where the Cowboys are right now. But I know they, obviously Jerry Jones loves him. Now, a lot of people in Dallas are going to be upset. I saw, once I posted that this week, I saw a lot of Cowboy fans reacting to me saying that Jerry Jones loves Kyle Pitts saying that's just like Jerry Jones, paying no mind to the defense. They had a historically bad defense, and they got pieces on offense. With that coming back healthy and all the weapons that they have, they don't need, as great as he is, they don't really need Kyle Pitts as much as they need defense. So if I was Dallas, I would stay put and take the best defensive player there.
That's a lot of great information. And I said, I appreciate you coming on with us, joining us your second time on All About the Birds. Make sure you follow Rob at Rob Maaddi on Twitter. Make sure you follow all of his, AP, right for AP, 97.5 The Fanatic host, great content on there, and also Faith on the Field. Make sure you're tuning into all that with, Rob, you're one of the best. You do, great work, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you joining us.
Oh, absolutely, guys. My pleasure. I got a lot of big announcements coming soon about Faith on the Field. And, Johnny, your hype videos are phenomenal, man. I need to get you to do one for my Faith on the Field as we launch and grow into bigger markets, man. We're going to California. I'm letting a little bit out right now. We're going into Cali. We're going into Florida. We're going all of Texas, maybe. So I need to recruit you to help me out a little bit.
Yeah, you got my number. Well, absolutely, 100%. I'm going to go to a commercial right now. Thank you.
Support for All About the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners. 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. Manscaped hooked us up with a bunch of tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, including the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes with an LED light for a more precise shave and is waterproof to make your shower shave clean and easy. The Perfect Package also includes a deodorant for your undercarriage to prevent odors and chafing, a reviving lotion, a pair of boxers and a t-shirt, not to mention a travel bag to store all your grooming goodies. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code AATBirds. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.
Alrighty, and we're back. Just throw it out there. Also, make sure Hemp Bombs, another sponsor of All About the Birds, premium CBD products. www.hempbombs.com. Promo code AATBirds for 20% off. Phil is a big CBD guy for All About Birds, one of our co-hosts and everything. He swears by it, so I'm trusting him on that. So if you want to check it out, make sure you use the promo code AATBirds for 20% off your first purchase. Also, 99jersey.com is also partnered with AAT Birds. Use the code, again, AAT Birds for a 20% discount at checkout. A lot of cool jerseys they got. They got Kobe Bryant. They got Mighty Ducks. They got Shane Falco, Bobby Boucher. There's a lot of cool things on that site, so definitely check that out. And put in AAT Birds for a 20% discount at checkout. And then, like the commercial said, Manscaped, your balls will thank you. 20% off and free shipping with the code AAT Birds. So make sure you definitely check that as well. And also sponsored by Statement Games. Make sure you check them out, statementgames.com. They also have an app as well. Some free fantasy, really cool site. We'll be dropping some more info with them in the partnership with the All About the Birds very shortly. So make sure you tune in and check out that. But what are your thoughts on what Rob was talking about? What do you the Pitts thing is interesting because you mentioned it to, I think you may have mentioned it to me that, Jerry loves the guy. I've heard it that, when he loves somebody, it's been many drafts that he's done that, where he's tried to go up and get a player that he absolutely loved. Doesn't always happen, but to me, it makes no sense because it's not what they need.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, especially if they're trading up. I mean, giving up assets when you already have that many receivers on that offense. I mean, it's just something I wouldn't really I wouldn't really do. If he slides to them at 10, I can see being tempted by it. If there's not a corner that you really are in love with or another defensive prospect. But overall, like I think that they probably go corner like Surtain or Horn.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing is there's a lot of, especially around this time, a couple weeks to the draft, you get a lot of tidbits, whether it's agents throwing stuff out there, teams throwing stuff out there about basically late risers, you can kind of say. I don't really think there's many late risers in, quote unquote late risers, just because a lot of teams know they have their board set. Of course, it's sometimes the media likes to throw things out there. Like I said, agents like to throw things out there to pump up their prospects. But I saw something, Christian Barrymore, a lot of people have him in the 20s. You mentioned about Jacksonville, and I think you actually had him go in Jacksonville in one of your mocks.
I think so.
And I've been hearing a lot, seeing a lot that he could possibly go top 15. Maybe Dave Gettleman and your Giants think, they did lose Dalvin Tomlinson. Why not go to Alabama and get another, stud defensive tackle? But I could see him going early. You think about it.
I mean, I could see Dave Gettleman falling in love with him. He loves his big offensive and defensive linemen. I wouldn't really love the pick, though. I don't really value him that high. I can see a team falling in love with him maybe in the top 20, but at 11, that's pretty dang high to me.
Yeah,
maybe if we trade back, but that Gettleman has literally never traded back in a draft, so I'm not counting on it.
My fear is come spot, pick 12, he's still on the board. Eagles select him. I know, Fletcher Cox is getting older. He did not restructure his contract, so they can potentially get out of his deal. Whether they get out of it, they somehow trade him after June 1st, which I don't see that happening whatsoever. More like 2022, basically getting out of his contract. You have Hargrave there, and then you have a bunch of guys. So that definitely can be a scary possibility, if you would say that. Like I said, I've said the Eagles could possibly go defensive line, like a Kwity Paye or something of that aspect. But looking at it, corner is the play. I want a receiver. I know, like the Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, that was the sexy pick. But really looking at it and thinking about it, I would love for the Eagles to go. If Horn's gone and Surtain's there, I'd love to go Surtain. And then if you think about this, you go Surtain, and then say pick 24, 25, Terrace Marshall is available. You trade up to get him, and then you come away with either Horn / Surtain and Marshall. I feel that's a huge win-win, in my opinion. Yeah. I've seen some of that, but to me, that's like they need to get a bunch of players. It's not about one specific player. That's not going to do anything for you, especially looking at this team last year, watching this team last year. One player is not going to fix the holes and, the ineptitude that the team had last year. Now, of course, coaching may help that a little bit. Getting some breakout, players in terms of some of these younger guys to kind of step up, that'll help. But I feel you can come away with that, even if you have to give up your second round, your third round, and then maybe a third or second next year. I'm okay with that because I like those two prospects. And Marshall, I feel could even go higher. I just feel like he's really, rising. What he did at his pro day.
Yeah, I feel like he's a pretty underrated player. One of the undervalued things, though, is accumulating all these picks really puts you in the position that you're actually able to go and do that. So, I feel like that's an underrated aspect.
Exactly. And you had one, you told me before the show, you had something that you've been seeing a lot of, something that's, caught me a little off guard. Because I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either, but I saw the latest trend. Like I saw Greeny talking about it on ESPN with Matt Miller, I think it was. Davis Mills in the end of the first round, which would give us 6 first-round quarterbacks. What are your thoughts on that?
for me, if I were to say a quarterback was going to slip into the back end of the first round, I would think it'd be Kyle Trask. Possibly Kellen Mond. One of those, it happens every year, especially at the end of the first. You have a guy that goes that you're like, well, sometimes unless you're the Raiders and you want to pick Farrell at 5 or 4, that happens as well. But usually you see something like that happen at the end. But Davis Mills, I think he's more of a 3rd, 4th rounder, in my opinion. More the 4th round, maybe a little bit late 4th. That's what I would kind of say. But that would be a little crazy. And you were saying you saw the Saints possibly.
Yeah, that's where I saw him going. I think it was in a mock on NFL.com. I mean, he has 11 career starts, and it's not like he was blowing anyone away in those starts. I mean,
I like he athletically, he profiles, he's had some, shining good moments. I mean, but for some reason, you're going to know this when I bring this name up. Davis Webb.
I agree with that. He's pretty similar, and I think he went in 3 or 4.
Yeah. By your New York Giants, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that didn't go over so well.
No.
But there's a lot going on in the last couple of weeks, and we're gonna have you covered. We're gonna do not this week, the Saturday before the draft. We're gonna do a community mock draft. So we're gonna have a handful of guys on here, and we're gonna go pick by pick, just like almost the last mock draft, the last hurrah. Getting different people's opinions. That some of them we've had on the show. Some we have not had on the show. They've been on other All About the Bird shows. But just to kind of get a little bit different outtake. And I know a lot of people are sick and tired of hearing us keep talking. Maybe they want a little bit of, some fresh blood. But I feel like that'll be fun to do something like that and to get that going. But like I said, it's kind of where we're at right now. It's leading up to the draft. It's going to be fun. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Rob again, Rob Maaddi. You can follow him at Rob Maaddi on Twitter. Like I said, his face on the field, 97.5 The Fanatic. Make sure you're following him. He's great. He has a lot of great information. And, want to thank everyone for watching. Want to thank, just thank everyone for, helping us through our first year at doing some draft talk live. Tommy and I enjoy it. We got a lot of things coming up, a lot of things we have planned for after the draft. We'll start detailing that possibly, maybe in a few episodes. We'll start talking about what we want to do on that aspect. But anything else, Tommy? Anything else you want to go over?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in, and Rob also for joining us.
And like I said, you can follow Tommy at tbarnett91. You follow myself at johnnyU9322. If you want to join All About the Birds, you want to have your own show, you want to be a sponsor, just message one of us, either Phil, Jeff, Chip, or myself, or the All About the Birds account. We'll be more than happy to help you. If you want to be a content creator, if you want to write, if you want anything you want to do, just shoot us a message and we'll try and make that happen for you. And like I said, thanks everyone. Make sure keep your eyes peeled to Twitter. We're going to be definitely keeping up with all the draft stuff, and especially in these last couple weeks, it's going to get pretty crazy. It should be fun. But with that, go Birds.